Hi, I'm Ed Hutchinson. I'm a mindset performance coach. I specifically help coaches, consultants, and experts to achieve more of what they desire by going internally, um, finding what's limiting them, and then removing limiting beliefs, whilst at the same time setting clarity and setting up an excitement for what it is they want to achieve. Anyway, on this video, I want to talk about a really kind of popular topic that I get a lot and we all suffer with, and that is when you get knocked into a rut. So when you get knocked off your momentum, knocked off your stride, and how do you get it back? Crucially, like how do you get back on top? So I'm just going to share my screen because I've got a few slides that I want to take you through. So yeah, like I say, what do you do? How do you break out of a rut? How do you get back into momentum and back into the potential? We've all probably been there. This is not a new phenomenon for a lot of us. Things will be swimming along so nicely. Everything's going so well. Everything's just flowing. Everything feels easy for you. You're getting a lot of work done. You're getting, you're focusing on your health. You're eating the right foods. You're sleeping well. Everything's just going really well. Everything's just, like I say, it's really easy. It's in a flow. And then that's when it happens. And it's strange. You don't always know what's caused it, but suddenly everything that felt so easy before feels hard. It feels complicated. It maybe even feels unnecessary. You start to lose your connection to why you even wanted to do it in the first place. So we begin to put things off. We've all got our own way of coping with it, but putting it off is a common one I hear from a lot of clients. So you might start by putting off doing the work on yourself, for instance. So you might stop meditating, or you might stop eating healthy foods or looking after your own health, or you might stop doing certain tasks in your business, like posting social content or doing videos, or just doing the very bare minimum. But whatever it is, you put it off. The general thought is it won't matter if you skip a day, will it? Right? But this has a tendency to escalate. So a day becomes 2 days, becomes a week, becomes a fortnight. And this, you get stuck in these ruts or stuck in a funk or whatever you want to call it. It's really it really knocks you off center. So you have to be really careful of, I guess, what's causing it, but essentially how you get yourself back, in control and back in the flow. Because once you stop putting effort in, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So once you start doing that in one area, it's naturally going to follow into other areas. It's going to lead into procrastination, obviously, and we're all brilliant at that. We don't need, I don't need to go into that. We all kind of know when we have problems like this, we're all going to have the cleanest kitchen in the world. We're all going to have the best iron shirts in the world, the cleanest bedding. We're going to find these other means to kind of diffuse that tension, because you don't just want to sit there and do nothing, but because you're in a rut, you don't feel the same connection or motivation to get on with what it was you were doing before. So what can we do? Like, how can we get back out of this? Just move this along. So it's a familiar pattern. I see it a lot. I've been there a lot myself. I've had a lot of clients that go through this, and it's a normal. I think the first thing to say is it's a completely normal issue, if you like. We call it an issue. It's completely normal. It's just part of being human. It's part of being an emotive being. Like, things are going to knock you off center. But crucially, the people that I see that deal with it well are the ones that have a strategy and coping mechanisms or ways to bounce back. So what we're going to start looking at is, as this slide showing, everything just grinds to a halt. So you've ground to a halt. Or certainly how it feels. I mean, obviously you never stop. You're either growing or you're constricting. You can't stand still. So effectively, when this happens, you might feel like you stood still, but you're not. So yeah, so what can we do about it? This is the important thing. Also knowing, I guess, that you're not alone. Like I said, there's quite a lot of other people that go through this. It's normal. So we're going to look at, let's skip ahead. How do we get out of it? So I've put together a few ideas of what I talk to clients about and what I've done myself. So firstly, rephrase it. Like, when you're stuck in a rut, like anything you state as fact to yourself will be imprinted by the brain as a belief, as a way it is, i.e. it's factual. This is how it is. So if you say, I'm stuck in a rut, it instantly, I mean, if you can bring up a picture of what that is to you, because remember, thinking a thought doesn't mean you're going to manifest it or become it. So you can think a thought and get to choose not to be it. So when I say think of a rut, what it means to you, what being stuck in a rut means to you, you can think it without putting yourself in it. It's a choice. So what I mean by rephrasing it is to think of it in a different way. So instead of saying, I'm stuck in a rut, you could rephrase it to yourself as, I'm currently not in my most motivated state, or I'm currently not in flow state, or, however it softens it to you. So you're not stating as fact that you're stuck in this rut, because a rut by its very nature is obviously, it's quite linear. You can't get out of the sides, it feels like you're very much trapped. So break that down by rephrasing it to yourself. It sounds very simple, partly because it is, but it's the simple things that work well, and it's a good way to get started. So yeah, I mean, start with the simple things. So start with this. So rephrase it to yourself, and that will set up a kind of snowball effect. Because again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So once you get into this simplification, it's going to start to make it a little bit easier to find a way through it. Which leads on to the second point, which is simplify things. So before, when you're in flow, you just do things, like activities just happen, and you'll be doing more and more and more, and there'll be more and more complex, I guess, activities that you're doing, and tasks that make up an overall activity that you're doing that's potentially more advanced, which is great. But when you're stuck in a rut, or you feel unmotivated, or everything feels like an effort, that is going to compile and compound the feelings of it being an effort. So simplify it. So stripping it right back. So when you're looking at, say, like your health, if before, for instance, you were going to the gym 4 times a week, and you were cooking your own meals, and you were, you had a routine in the morning. So you woke up and you were hydrating first and getting your body moving. Now that's going to feel like an effort when you're stuck in a rut, because it feels like a lot to do. So you simplify it. So you'll just pick sort of one key thing in the morning, like hydrate. And then rather than pushing yourself to go to the gym 4 or 5 times for an hour at a time, you would look to maybe do something else instead, which is easier, like going for a walk around the block for 15, 20 minutes. You see how that's simplified. You're still getting the benefit, but it's simplified it. And sometimes the very action of taking an action, albeit it's simpler than you were doing before, will set you back on a course to more motivation. And it will set up that momentum again to get you back into what you were doing before. So simplify things. It's really important. Just going backwards. Okay, check in. So the third point is checking in. So what I mean by that is check in with your goals, like check in with your kind of bigger picture, your vision. Like, why were you doing the things that you were doing before? Like, we don't just do things. Well, not often. We don't just do things for the sake of doing them. We do things as a means to achieve an outcome. It's a desired outcome. And a lot of the time, the desired outcome is actually going to help us to feel a certain way. So check back in with why you were doing what you were doing. There's a couple of things there. Firstly, is it actually what you want to do? Is it in a, what we call an alignment with you? Like, is that what you really want? Why do you want it? How's it going to make you feel? So a really good way to get yourself back into the feeling, you need to create a bit of space in your mind. You need to create a bit of space in your head. So maybe start with a meditation. If you do meditation, if you don't, then honestly, I would strongly advise you to do it. It's a great way of creating a bit of space, a bit of quiet in your head. Straight after the meditation, get a pad and pencil, pen, journal, whatever it is you've got, and ask yourself some questions. Like, start digging a bit deeper into this. So ask yourself, for instance, why am I in a rut? Like, it's not the first time it's happened. So why has it happened again? Like, why are you in a rut? What is it? What set you off? What's put you in the rut? Is it a choice that you're making to avoid doing a certain activity or a certain thing? Like, you hit a point in your business where you knew you had to do paid advertising, for instance, and you didn't feel comfortable with that because you've got lack and scarcity programming running? Or is it a point that you hit a point where you had to do a live video, where you had to run a live event, and there's the fear of being judged, or the fear of public humiliation, or whatever it is. There's sometimes a story behind it, not always, but there's sometimes a story behind the rut, like why you've gone into it. It's your brain's way of keeping you safe. So it's brought up this rut, it's knocked you off your momentum to take you into a safer space. So by asking yourself, why am I in a rut? I see where it takes you. Remember, Tony Robbins has always said, if you want better answers, ask better questions. So this is how we're starting to dive into this now. We're going a bit deeper. So the next question, so why am I in a rut? How am I choosing to feel about being in this situation? So what feelings is being in a rut initiating for you, or bringing up? So how are you choosing to feel? I remember, no judgment. You're not writing this stuff out to judge yourself or base yourself against, oh, well, all this other business owner over here, or this person over here, or one of my friends over there, they'd deal with it differently. They probably would, because everyone's an individual, but that doesn't mean to say they'll deal with it any better or worse than you. It's irrelevant. This is about you. So you look at just you, no judgment on where you are, no comparing yourself to where others are or where you perceive they would be. Okay, so just focus on yourself. Next question would be, what am I trying to avoid? Now, it ties in a bit quite closely with the first one about being stuck in a rut. So what am I trying to avoid? And is there a fear going on deep down? So is that the reason why, like I said before, you've been put into a rut? So dig into this. So is it fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of disapproval, feeling like you're not ready, or you're not good enough, or you need to learn more? What is it? Starts to get really kind of nailed down onto what these feelings are actually leading you to. Okay, next question. This is a good one to start you back into momentum. So what small action can I take that will help me feel I'm back in control? So that can be in any area. It doesn't have to be business related. I've used that as an example quite a bit, but it could be anything. It could be health. It could be relationships. It could, it doesn't just have to be business, but what small step can you take so you feel like you're back in control? I mean, one of the small steps that you can take so you feel you're back in control could be doing these questions, going through these sort of self-questioning, meditating, looking for the answers, starting to pinpoint what's causing this. And then finally, I would say something like, and this is important actually, what do I enjoy doing that puts the fun and enjoyment back into my life? So we're looking at what puts you in a naturally relaxed state of what we call flow, which is where everything just happens with ease. You don't have to force it. Life just feels easy. We've all got go-tos that put us in that space. So what is it for you? So look at that. It could be anything. It could be walking the dog, going to the gym, spending time with your partner. It could be doing something with business. It could be, doing a client session. It doesn't matter, whatever it is for you. And this is the thing. It doesn't have to be related to achieving an overall outcome. Not initially. Remember, this is about breaking out of the rut and getting you back into momentum. Because once you've got that flow of energy back and the momentum back, then you can start to expand what you're doing back into where you were before and start to bring in these other activities that are going to help you to grow forward. So, I mean, really, I can't emphasize that last point enough. It's so powerful. Knowing what puts you back into flow, knowing what sparks the fun, sparks that excited energy and gets it back into your life. Really important, because it's going to help you snap out of these funks much faster. So the next point, yeah, that's the one I've just been talking about. So taking time for meditation, taking time for the self-questioning, honestly, really important, really, really beneficial. So implementation timeline. So just getting kind of a little bit realistic with where you're at. Like, we can get caught up in the business of life, but caught up in the or unconsciously caught up in the comparison, especially with the sort of explosion of social media over recent years. It's very easy to be in groups where, irrelevant of whether it's health, like I say, it could be health, wealth, business, relationships, whatever it is. We're in a society where there's a lot of comparison. So your implementation timeline, what I'm looking at is that's from a point of view of realistic self-expectations. So what have you got to do? What do you want to achieve? What timeline have you set yourself? Is it realistic? We don't plan in, well, we very rarely plan in these times for being stuck in a rut or having a low energy or anything like that. So we just expect that as a physical being, we're going to turn up like a machine every day and just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And a lot of the time we do, which is great. But when we don't? What happens when we don't? You'd be looking at the timeline that you've set for yourself, judging yourself against that based on where you are. And it actually compounds the feeling of feeling stuck and frustrated and everything's hard and it feels like the weight of the world's on you. So you need to have a little bit of a look at that and build in a little bit of leeway. So you've got a buffer. You may never need it, but then if you go into a rut or you get, kind of knocked off center, it's going to have less of an impact on you. It's going to have less of a kind of a negative influence on what you're doing, which is good. So that's really it. I mean, one final one actually, looking for the lessons. So what lessons have you learned? So when you get stuck in a rut, there's always, it's linking back to the questioning, there's always a reason why it's happened. There's always a reason why you're put in that position again. And it's usually an unconscious pattern that's running, or belief potentially around a certain aspect that you've encountered or that you need to do next. Like I was saying before about maybe it's a video, maybe it's a live event, maybe it's paid advertising, maybe it's confronting somebody about something, which is going to test your own personal boundaries. There's lessons to be taken. And the meditation with the questioning and the journaling is going to help you to start to see what they are. And then once you've got the lessons, like once you've got it there and on paper in front of you in terms of what it is, then it's up to you. What are you going to do with that? Like you've got the lesson. You can either take it forwards and make some changes, or you can close your journal, chuck it on the side and not worry about it until next time you get knocked into a rut. And either's fine. It's like whatever you choose to do, because sometimes taking the lessons and implementing change so it doesn't happen again is hard work. It's difficult, particularly personal boundaries. Even more so if you're an empath, because it's not in our nature. So yeah. So what lessons are you learning from it? Like, what are you taking from this? Start to turn being stuck in a rut so it becomes a self exploration, a self-educational kind of process, thereby meaning that, obviously you're not getting things done you want to get done to the same level you wished you wanted to get, be getting them done, but you're still taking benefit from it rather than just being knocked off center and just waiting for momentum to find you again, which could be a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, who knows? Depends what set you off, and it depends where you're at. Everyone's different. So yeah, really look for the lessons. And that's pretty much the kind of 5 main points that I would say. So yeah, I've seen this work really well with so many clients, like these simple steps, and I've put them all together, but you only really need to pick one or two of these, and it's going to make a really big difference. Yeah, so go away. Application is key. Obviously, you can watch this video, you can choose to take action or not. That's the thing. It comes down to you at the end of the day. It depends what you want to get out of it, and what you want to get out of breaking out of a rut. So yeah, just a quick disclaimer though, probably should have said at the start, if you are watching this and you're in a point of knowing that you've been diagnosed with depression, or you feel that you are depressed but it hasn't been picked up yet, then by all means feel free to action some of this material, but also make sure you go and see your doctor, get proper help, proper professional trained help. So yeah, I mean, this will help anybody, but just know that there's a limit with these sort of things, and you do need help beyond this. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then just like and subscribe. Also, if you've got any questions or any feedback, stick it in the comments. I do kind of check the comments. I do get back to people, and I'm always interested to see what people think. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and go and action it. So yeah.